The Albanese government will urgently try to stop more asylum seekers from being released from immigration detention as debate on this issue heats up in Parliament as our parliamentarians return in Canberra. And joining us now is the Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan. Dan, good to see you as always. So your opponent Andrew Giles, he's to mount a new defence in the High Court against those who refuse to cooperate with authorities because some are using as a defence because they might get shipped back to where they came from. So what's your reaction to this?
Well, we don't understand, and the Australian people don't understand what this government is up to when it comes to this. They've put 46 new lawyers in place. Is this one of those 46 lawyers coming up with something new? They've been arguing this in the federal court for months. They won in the federal court. So my hope is that they'll use the same logic that they used in the federal court and make sure that they win this case as well. It just seems to be a headline for the sake of a headline. And the real question we need to know from last Friday's briefing, secret briefing, is that our understanding is the government has been advised by lawyers from Home Affairs or the Attorney Generals that there is the potential for another 100 to 150 hardened criminals to be released into the community.
On top of the ones already, Dan?
On top of the ones already.
So what's that, 300?
There is the potential for... That would mean that there would be 300 hardened criminals, up to 300 hardened criminals released into the community. So that's our understanding. Between 100 and 150 hardened criminals, further hardened criminals, to be released into the community potentially. That's what we need Andrew Giles being upfront about this week. Is that true? Have they received that legal briefing from their department? Is that what that secret briefing on Friday of journalists was all about? This is just a furphy, what's on the front page of the Sydney Morning Herald today. That's the question we need Andrew Giles to answer.
So why do you think it is a furphy?
Because they've been arguing this in the federal court. It's now going to the High Court. So they've obviously got all their legal arguments in place, or you would hope they have. If they're now coming up with new legal arguments now, it shows once again that the Minister, Andrew Giles, has been completely asleep at the wheel again. We know he was asleep at the wheel when the first 151 were released, and now maybe he was again, and that's why there's this new argument. But the key question is, do they have briefing which says that between another 100 and 150 hardened criminals are likely to be released into the community in the coming months?
Hey, Dan, the Coalition helped toughen the current laws. Are they too strict? Have they become too strict and are now vulnerable to constitutional challenges?
My view is that what we did was constitutional. Now, obviously, in the end, it will be the High Court that will test that. But we have to be doing everything we can to keep the Australian community safe. And we will work with the government to do that. The sad reality is we put in preventative detention orders in place and the government haven't used one of them. We are now in March, in the middle of March, and not one of them have been used. And yet we have 151 hardened criminals out in the community. Now we have the potential of another 100 to 150 being released, and they haven't used them. What are they doing? That is the question that the Australian people want to know.
OK, yeah, fair question too. We'll see where that lands today. Dan, we'll have to cut it short. Appreciate your time as always.